Hi, Paul.
Hi, Kirsty. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining me today. And
That's my pleasure.
for those of you listening, Paul is an experienced CFO with a strong background working in life science and medical technology companies. And Paul, you actually get the accolade of being the CFO who stretches my intellectual mind the most.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Kirsty. I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I thought I'd just let you know that today.
Oh, no pressure then.
No pressure. I'm conscious you currently wear a couple of hats, really, but your day
Yeah,
job is being the CFO of an early stage medical and veterinary device company, isn't it? And you are a
that's
director of
right.
a
Yeah.
sizable charity as well, but that's not necessarily the day job.
No, I do that for fun.
Fabulous. We might, if we have time, which I suspect we won't, we might be able to touch on that. But why
Right.
don't you kick off by just telling us how this crisis is affecting you?
Well, it's been quite interesting. I think there's a danger whenever something big happens, every company says, well, it's absolute carnage out there, but we're all right. And I think possibly slightly unusually this time round, everyone said, no, actually, we've all got big problems.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, we are in one or two sort of interesting sort of places at the moment with our company. We've just completed a fundraise, so that does give us a strong balance sheet. And it's a bit late now, although I think some of the listed companies are doing this. Most people, it's a bit late to repair your balance sheet, but it is a lesson that a good strong balance sheet is never a bad idea. The main activity of the company at the moment is development, and that carries on as normal. We've sent people home. We've got a rota so that everybody has a day when they're allowed into the office. There's only 6 of us, so we can accommodate that. So people can come in and use 3D printers, use the tools we've got in the office if they need to. And other than that, I think 2 smaller effects that we've seen. That there's a project that we've put on ice because market conditions are just not right, and that's fine. The market will still be there when things return back to normal. But we've also seen, interestingly, just the acceleration of some of our sales. We've got a device that is very well adapted for telemedicine, and this is something that people are waking up to very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's life at Epipole at the moment.
It was nice to hear, something positive as well, in the fact that it has had a positive impact on sales, albeit there's other challenges as well.
I think so. I think you've got to be careful. I think there's a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, isn't there, about how people are helping the NHS, and I think you need to be very careful you don't sound and don't appear to be opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
We've been big believers in telemedicine for a long time. This is a trend within the health sector, and I think current circumstances are going some way to accelerating those trends.
Mm-hmm.
Health buyers tend to be on the cautious side because obviously they don't put things in unless they're confident they can work. But I think that there's been an acceleration of development within the health sector.
Mm-hmm. So what's actually keeping you awake at the moment?
I would honestly say nothing. I sleep fine. There was one thing that did exercise me at the start of all this, and this really does come with my charitable hat on, and the experience there. The business I'm involved with there, it's in the leisure sector, and we lost the vast majority of our turnover overnight as we had to shut our sites. And so as a director, you immediately think about wrongful trading. And the business secretary's announcement, I think it was a week past Saturday, that wrongful trading regulations would be suspended, was, I think, a very necessary and important measure.
And what would you say, and it's great to hear, by the way, that you're having good sleep in the evenings.
Yes. The odd glass of wine helps.
I bet it does. What's been your biggest learn since this, COVID-19 outbreak hit the UK?
I think there've been a few things. I think one of the things that is obvious to me is that we can sometimes, in business we negotiate hard and we can take time to get things right. And in normal circumstances, that's fine. But I think people have just had to react very, very quickly. And I think the change in approach, where people have just made some very, very quick decisions, has been quite interesting to see. It's just all happened so fast, and it's all been so major that you haven't really got time to reflect on how best to make the decision. You just have to make a very good decision quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think that with time then and the ability to reflect further, that's when sort of more learns will come through from this experience for you personally?
I think one of the sorry, Kirsty.
I know.
I think one of the things coming out of this is that that there's been quite an interesting collegiate approach, and some of that's been sort of quite formal. And you look at the supermarkets and the suspension of competition law that actually allows them to work together to a degree, in the national interest. And again, one or two of my experiences where we've been talking to important business partners, and I think whereas historically people might have sort of negotiated their position hard, I think there's just been a recognition we're all in this together and we just need workable solutions quickly. Mm-hmm. And so I think collegiate stuff, I've actually sort of enjoyed working in that environment. Mm-hmm. Whether it'll last when things get back to normal, we shall see.
Well, that brings me nicely on to my next question about things coming back to sort of normal. If you were to look into your crystal ball, what do you think will be different in the business world once we've all come through this?
So looking ahead, I think there's a couple of things. The first thing is that I think resilience is going to be higher up people's lists. If you look at the food supply chain, there's little margin for error. And I think people will just be thinking, well, is that a great place to be? And I think the second thing is getting back to the medical industry. As I said, I see the acceleration of some trends, and I think the one around telemedicine, for example, but also around using more flexible kit. These are things that I'm sure are now here to stay.
Mm-hmm. I did wonder myself, actually, whether, how businesses have the obligatory fire alarm drill, once or twice a year. Mm-hmm. Will we be wanting to have the contingency plan drill regularly following what we've learned from this crisis?
I think so. I mean, a good example, medical devices is the talk of the steamy at the moment. So, suddenly my world is to the fore. And there seems a very obvious sort of shortcoming in that any medical device has to go through, quite rightly, rigorous testing before it's allowed onto the market. And suddenly people are woken to the fact you can't just design a ventilator today and have it in production tomorrow. Why there wasn't the blueprint for a basic ventilator that could then be sort of given to people like Rolls-Royce and said, this is already market approved, now just make the thing. I think, maybe that's the benefit of hindsight, but that kind of resilience planning, then I think we need to be doing a lot more of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what one piece of wisdom or words of positivity would you like to share with your peers?
Well, I think, as the finance director of a range of sort of early stage companies that are routinely cash strapped until the day that the fundraise happens, it is actually remarkable how little you need to survive on. And also, I think as finance directors, we always put plans together where we play down the upsides, and we think the negatives are always going to be very real. And so although we might view those as base case, normally we're secretly hoping that things will be a bit better. And I think that it is amazing how long businesses can actually hang on in there, as long as real focus is paid to cash.
Well, you said something very inspiring to me the other day along those lines. You say many inspiring things. But I took a lot away from the fact that you're right. A lot of businesses will be working out, worst case scenarios, which is the right thing to do. You need to do that as well, and I have to have a number of scenarios. But hopefully, the reality and the chances are that it won't be the absolute worst case. And
I think that's right. Yes. Yes, I think. I'm sorry, I lost you there, Kirsty.
I was just saying I took a lot of positivity from that.
Yes, I think I can think of one or two businesses I've been involved with where before the fundraise, we'd spend month upon month of flying under bridges, and you have to hope and work to make sure that the odd sort of dribbles of cash do come in, and they do.
Well, that's a brilliant positive note to finish on, I think. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, that's my pleasure, Kirsty.
And I'll speak to you soon.
Speak soon.